Hi guys, this is Nadia Hilker. I'm playing Magna on The Walking Dead, and you guys are listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I'm sending you all my love. Bye!
Hello, my name is Cassie McClincy. I play Lydia on The Walking Dead, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Yeah!
Hey there guys, I'm Callan McAuliffe and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, I'm Lindsley Register and I play Lara on The Walking Dead. You're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, this is Ross Marquand and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through.
Awesome.
Hey survivors, welcome to episode 132 of The Walking Dead Talk Through. I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
Hey! So glad to be back. Gosh, it's been so long.
It has. It's been a long time.
Yes. Man. I think I was like, when I was working on the dock today, I kind of was like, wait, when was the last time we recorded The Walking Dead? Yeah, October. That's like forever ago.
Last year.
Well, it's good to be back. But we do have to say Brian is not going to be joining us for a while as we're doing this season. He is actually in the process of moving, and it's kind of going a little I think he put in his words, catastrophically bad right now. He's just having a little issue just getting to Michigan and getting out of Tampa and moving out of the place that he's at. So he will hopefully join us, here and there in the next maybe few weeks until he gets settled. So we definitely are going to miss him.
Yes, we are.
All the luck that everything gets better for you, because I know how much he's been having a battle. Moving sucks. That's all I know. So I don't want to ever do it again myself.
Well, the only moving I'm planning on doing is I won't care. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, first, we want to remind listeners that Patreon subscribers are able to listen to the early access version of the podcast ahead of everyone else. And this basically means as soon as we record, and I'm going to basically do this like the next morning, and Patreons will get the early access, which is basically just a mostly unedited version of our recording tonight. And you'll get the episode first before the main feed, because then I have to edit it. And so if you want to definitely get it right away and before everybody else, that is the best way to do it. And you can join us and support our podcast at patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough.
And that's right. One of the benefits of membership is you get to hear the more raw, more gritty, more tongue-tied version of the podcast.
Yes, a lot of my mispronouncing words or people's names, little, breaks, coughs.
I was going to be a smart aleck and say, and you think I'm funny when I'm polished and edited. But, and I know we're going to say it again, but I definitely appreciate everybody that supports the podcast. And if you want to get it faster, the best way to do it is go ahead and contribute to the Patreon.
Yes. Appreciate all the support we can get, and we love our
listeners.
Because
we love our listeners, but we definitely love and appreciate the folks that help support us and help bring this to you every week.
So thank you all for supporting us, our Patreons. All right, well then let's get into this week's episode. We will be covering The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 9, titled No Other Way. I was going to put a little note in here just in case, because normally, at this point, we'll cover feedback that didn't make it into last week's podcast, but since we're doing this after such a long break, if there's anything that I missed, I apologize. To your listeners, I went back through just double checking because I felt like there was something that wasn't covered from a listener. So sorry if you're the one, if you had something and we didn't cover it from the last like October, maybe just shoot me a message on Facebook or whatever. But just wanted to kind of put that out there just in case.
Yeah. And like I said, just from my point of it, we had a lot of stuff going on for that last episode.
Yeah.
So please forgive us if we missed your comment, but we're back at it. So if there's something you want to bring up, go ahead, and we're ready to start rocking and rolling again.
All right. Well, let's get to this episode, which I think was really, really, really good to come back to. Season 11, Episode 9, titled No Other Way. Written by Corey Reed, directed by Jon Amiel, and description from AMC Plus is the Alexandrians must survive a storm and battle the Reapers for food. All right, let's get into ratings. I guess I'll just start with mine. 9.5678 Walker party crashers at Alexandria's house.
And Brian said 9.6 Gabriel's The Angel of Death.
Yeah, I think Gabriel had a good week.
Yes, he does. And of course, my rating is 9.4 out of 10. Ding dings.
Nice. All right, well, let's get into our listeners' ratings. Our first listeners' ratings comes from Dieta from Detroit, and she said, I rate this episode 8 out of 10 smashing dead heads underwater. And not sure what that emoji is.
Yeah, it might be zombies.
Zombie smash. Cool. 3 of those.
Okay. And Renee from Atlanta says 8 out of 10. Maggie and Aaron, 2 hug emojis, period.
And Emma from the UK gave it an 8 out of 10. Ding, ding. Seconds out. Round 2. Great way to start the second part of the season. Plenty going on and some great lines. Yep. All right. Thank you guys for your ratings. So that leads us into our awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. All right. First one comes from Dieta. You want to take this, LT?
I shall. Dieta from Detroit says Aaron smashing the walkers with his hand weapon. That would be a mace. Fighting the walkers in the flooded basement and hanging onto the pipes was awesome. Maggie keeping her promise and killing the Reapers, just wished she'd gotten Leah as well.
Yep. Can't disagree. All right, well, Renee from Atlanta is next, and she says, Maggie. She's Rick Grimes' twin sister. Take no prisoners, and I'm definitely here for it. I'm sick and tired of our people trying to do the right thing, and here comes another group thinking they can come in and take what we have, and to me, you can't compare her nor Rick to Negan. Negan took and killed because he had a messiah complex. We take and kill because we have no choice. And a little tear face. I have a little more probably to go on that one. And then she goes on, Aaron. Yes, hug emoji. Man, I love how he jumped through the window in slow motion and took out those walkers with his spiky metal ball hand. I mean, that was freaking epic. And then strongman arm. The fight with Maggie, Negan, and Elijah against Carver, low down, dirty ass. Even though I can't stand Carver, you could tell he was a trained fighter because he took them out like they were nothing. Negan plays dirty, so he knew in order to beat him, he would have to play dirty. Ding dong. Cry face. I thought for a minute Negan was going to dip on them, but he didn't, so I will give him a little credit for whatever. Eye roll. Yeah, that scene, Carver definitely was showing that he had some moves. It was kind of like,
yes, it was.
Like he did that jump off the wall, and I don't know. I say that like it's the thing I always say though, and whether or not it's not that. It's just like, when you want to kind of get some force behind you, that's kind of one way to do it. But I always think it's like parkour, just like it's like, oh hey, parkour.
Yep.
But yeah, they at least got him though.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes on, if that damn Judith is not like her parents, little ass kicker definitely fits her. She was kicking at those walkers just like her parents. I would really love to see her when she gets older because she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Strong arm, strong arm. That definitely agree with.
Yep.
And goes on, Rosita and those other ladies stabbing those walkers on the stairs. Epic. Strong arm, strong arm. Yep. And that's where my rating came from because if you're going to do it, that's definitely the best way to do it. It's like kind of basically keep them contained and just sit there and start taking them out. Last but definitely not least, actually for me, it was the best line in the episode, probably the whole series, besides Rick saying, "What?" I have no idea why I didn't lead with this, but no Jensen here. Call me Gabriel. Strong arm emoji. She's like, shut that shit down, Father Gabriel. Period. Yep. That was a great line. Again, I have to say this as I'll go on because I feel like I pretty much had all awesome this week.
Well, I didn't, but I'll explain.
Yep.
It's what I do.
Yep. We love it.
All right. Emma from the UK says, Aaron dive bombing walkers in the basement and Judith kicking that one in the head. Gabriel confronting the Reaper priest. Couple of great lines from Negan, ding ding, when he knocks Carver out with the bell. And from Gabriel, call me Gabriel, when he's become the sniper on the roof. The Commonwealth coming face to face with Alexandria was not something I thought we'd see this episode, but I was glad as it felt Alexandria has run its course. The time jump. Whoa, I love a time jump. Good way to not get stuck in a rut. And finally, Daryl's now a stormtrooper and Maggie's back at the hilltop, though neither of them seem to have managed to have a shower in the meantime. No argument there. I can't wait to see how all that came about. Indeed.
Yeah, I don't know if I said really much on the time jump, but that whole transition was actually really, really cool. Because it was like, it was Maggie, and she was like looking one day, and there's like Grace behind her or whatever. But it was like such a really cool transition. So
it was
very, very, very good. All right. Well, thank you, listeners, for your awesome sauce. Let's go into ours. It looks like Brian got some in, so we'll read those. And he said, one word, Hawacha.
Hawacha.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. I left it out because it was kind of like, I figure someone else would say something about it.
Oh, I'm going to.
Oh, good. Because I kind of was just like, oh, it was the start of the episode. So I was like, hey, let's just let it play out. And then he just goes on. He said, I think everyone else I had was mentioned elsewhere. So thank you, Brian. Miss ya.
We miss you, Brian.
Yep. All right, LT, take it away.
Okay. Well, my first awesome sauce was definitely Father Gabriel being all badass this episode. Definitely a further progression from the I'm going to hide in the church and lock the door when the walkers come. If you want to talk in terms of character arc, it's definitely been an interesting arc for him. And still, the way that they staged the shots with that one frosty eye, I just think that the directors have done a good job, and definite props to the actor because he has stepped up and become one of my favorite characters, especially when there have been episodes in the past where I was kind of going, yeah, you could probably leave him. But he is definitely not only grown into that character, but, he's turned into a real survivor, and it's been really good to see. And especially the fact that who knew Father Gabriel was, such a good shot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to sidebar that, because somebody was saying, well, he's only got one good eye. Well, there is a very good friend of mine who is left eye dominant and right-handed. So I did notice that he was kind of doing the cross saddle, kind of having to cock his head over to look through the scope. And that was, didn't realize he was such a good shot, but it was definitely one of the high points of the episode when he was on the building there at that last confrontation.
You're going into what you're saying basically is kind of how a part of my awesome sauce too is because you're right. It's his character progression has been great, and then this one to me was that whole scene with it, with him and the priest, that totally really character. Just what he did, the choices he made, just the way he acted it, that. I don't know. To me, it was one of the best scenes in the episode and also in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It was watching it again because it was weird because it was at first I was oh, this is not great. And it was more because I wanted to see, oh, here's the priest meet priest, battle, action. And I think I even said something I don't know when probably the mid-season finale or part 1 in October, because it was he was looking at that other priest through the trees, and we were just oh, we know. It's can't wait. It's they're going to meet and have a battle, and this and that. But then here we get that, and I was kind of oh, it's it kind of didn't go that way. But then actually rewatching it and seeing it again, there's just so much.
I think that the way they did it was, to me, it was much better than had they had the big, Bruce Lee Kung Fu movie showdown. This was a lot more. It was a lot more cerebral in a lot of ways.
No, right. That's kind of, I think that's what I might as well just go on with my awesome sauce about this, just to, jump in and add to what you were saying, because it was, it's yeah, if they did the all out, just some little battle royale between the two, then it would have not worked. The way they did it here, it was this whole, instead of being a big battle, it was kind of a battle of words or faith. It was like that other priest, or Reaper priest, as I called him, was was making him think about him, basically of himself, and bringing, he's a man of faith, he is a God-fearing man, or, well, I guess what you can be in this apocalypse, but he starts bringing on this choice of hell. I think at one point he says oh, do you not hear him anymore? And then you can see that kind of started to shake Father Gabriel, almost kind of you're challenging me to say, oh, I've lost my way, or I'm not really, in touch with God or whatever. But then he turns it around to being oh, well, what did he say? He said the path of peace is hard, but it's take it with me and we can save both our flocks. Right. Because Father Gabriel was I'm protecting my flock,
That's right.
And so he's trying to get him to come back over and be oh, no, let's do it together. But then faced with that choice and thinking about it, it's Father Gabriel is just wait, no, it's the sins of you, have to be punished, kind of thing. I made my choice. I'm protecting my people. And,
right.
And he, wasn't going to let that whole, just you're trying to play to my inner, faith or whatever. It's no, it's I'm doing this to protect my people. I'm making my decision. And then he stabs him. And it was just
yep. It
was amazing. It really was. It's great. Like I said, I had pretty much all awesomes. And it was to come back to this after, so long, this was so good. This was Walking Dead. This was such a great episode. And yeah. I'll just go from
and
there.
I'll go ahead and say it now. And I'm going to expound on it as we go as well, but I think that this would have made a much better, 2-part teaser break than what we got.
Or, well, yeah.
Because if you remember when we talked about the last episode before the break, we were talking about, well, Pope was kind of a letdown, and this was kind of not so great, and this was not so good either. But even with what we got in this episode, even with what I call the Marvel trailer moment there at the end, I think that this episode would have been a much better episode to be the break episode before they restarted, my opinion. Because this episode was better written. I think it was better staged. It had a lot more action. It had a lot more things to think about.
Yep.
And I that's why I rated it as high as I did compared to what I rated the last one. That I think that they came out of the box swinging this time. And I really think that this was a far better episode than what we got at the end of session 1 there.
Yeah. No, I totally could agree with that. But, I guess at the same time, though, to come back after so long, it's like, well, say we got something similar to like what we got on episode 8, that definitely would have not been great.
Well, and I will concede that point as well, that they did need to come back from the break strong, and they did.
Yeah.
But just as a whole, I think that this is still, I think the cliffhanger we got with Daryl and Maggie at the end was probably a better cliffhanger to me than the shot of the Hawacha.
Yeah. Yeah, no, true. Well, we'll take it at that.
Yep, we'll take it at what we got. Yep. Okay, so my next point was, as everybody has said, all the shots with Aaron in the basement. And my sidebar comment to that was, well, obviously the mace hand is not so great when you need a grippy hand. But, absolute props to Ross Marquand for being Mr. Action Hero. And I understand there's probably some stunt doublage going on, but for the stuff that he did, that I know the stuff that he did, that was just so good. Just the tension of the fight and the water and the fact that you had some moments there where you're kind of thinking, well, are they going to kill Aaron off? Because it was not tension. To me, I lost the fact that, well, maybe Aaron's got some plot armor. I actually felt like that, they might bump him on this episode. So again, props to the director and the writers for actually giving us some tangible, credible, risk for one of our heroes.
Yep, for sure.
Like you had said when they were fighting, and I think some of the ladies mentioned it earlier, the fight scene with Carver in the hall, you could tell the way they played it. It's not just the fact that Carver was a trained fighter, but you could tell that, our guys are hungry and they're tired and they're not, it makes me wonder, did they take that into account, that they've been on their own and kind of hungry and not getting enough rest? That was kind of the impression that I got. Just, because he folded Daryl up and then he folded Maggie up and, he folded Negan up a little bit till, Negan figured out a way to, kind of even the odds there. But, well staged, well acted. And that was, right up there with, some of the other really good fight scenes we've gotten in the last few seasons. As much as we talked about it before, like the fight scene with Beta and Daryl in the building where he went down the elevator shaft.
Yeah.
They're definitely doing some good fight work there, as opposed to some of the fights we've seen. And it was, well worth the price of admission. this is where I'm going to have to take the slightly controversial point, even though I do think it was included in my awesome sauce, is that I think that we're seeing Maggie kind of take a turn to the Negan side. You know, after Daryl had kind of like worked out this, you know, go away and don't come back, you know, she shot him in the back.
Yeah.
She shot him in the back as they were running away and was very cold and calculating on it, which I understand. You know, she lost a lot of people and she had a lot of ill will and enmity towards the Reapers. But as we saw, this is probably going to cause some problems between her and Daryl down the road. And we don't know how much of a problem this is going to cause between her and the rest of the Alexandrians.
Yeah.
So
there's an interesting note because of how the episode ended. It's not like Daryl and Maggie.
Because you remember, we've had some disagreements and some problems between, you know, our folks. But this is kind of a big disagreement between Daryl and Maggie. And, you know, how much of this is going to play out later? You know, is this going to be like a big bone of contention? Because you can say that she was doing it for the right reasons, but in the end of the day, you know, has Maggie kind of turned a corner? Has she kind of taken a few steps towards the dark side?
Yep. I mean, that's going to be a wait and see for sure.
Oh, definitely so. And again, more props to the fact that, you know, I think Lauren Cohan sold it. I mean,
for sure.
She did. I would say she acted that, you know, very intensely. And, you know, I like her as an actor. I've enjoyed her on the series. I've enjoyed other things that she's done, but she definitely brought that edge. And so I'm glad she came back, and I'm really excited to see where we go from here.
Yep. I might take, well, I'm not, it's not that I'm going to disagree, but this was it was a turning point, and it's kind of like, I mean, she's kind of making this, she's at this point to where there's a Rick way of doing things and you know, a Negan way of doing things.
Yep.
And, you know, she's kind of in the middle, but yeah, I'm going to go into that. So I'll just leave with that. All right. Well, I'll just go into my awesome sauce then. And the first one was like the fight with Daryl and the dude in the classroom. I forgot. I had his name, whatever his name was, because I put it in another note somewhere.
Yeah, it was
like Alex or something. Anyways, but that dude. So they're fighting in the classroom, but it wasn't so much about the fight. But it was like I started to notice the classroom, and then I ended up going and pausing and looking at it, because I mean, I know this is like a Meridian, like where, you know, Maggie's place was, you know, like her, that was where her people were there. But it was just interesting to like, actually then you're like looking back at the, you know, the chalkboard, and it was like talking about lessons of the day. And it was just kind of cool because it wasn't like, you know, what you would normally would see, like this post-apocalyptic, you know, setting of like, oh, here was a classroom before, you know, zombies came. And it was more, you know, and then you would like seeing stuff on the walls that was just like, oh, it's like the lesson of the day was all like, oh, remember if you get lost in the woods, it was like stop, like STOP. And, you know, and it's like an S was like stop as soon as you can. T was something like think about the situation. O is observe your surroundings, and P, plan what to do. So I don't know. I just thought it was really cool to kind of see that, because, you know, we're so far into the show, you know, that it's like the fall is like so kind of getting kind of removed from basically just life of our characters or just life in general, to being like, okay, this is the future and moving forward. So it was just nice to see kind of like, I don't know, that juxtaposition between, you know, like they could have been like scavenging and coming to a fight, and they'd be in this classroom, and then you'd be seeing like, you know, just normal everyday, what we would see as a normal classroom setting, like, you know, whatever. And this was like, oh, this is like, we're teaching our kids survival, you know, and and that was the lessons because that's what's normal now. So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of really cool. And it was also interesting because it was like, there's like kids' pictures on the walls, which of course you would see in a classroom.
Right.
But it was like a picture of like a house and there were like cars on top of it. Or it was like an open field and there was like this like kind of like, burned out car or whatever, just like in all this grass. So it was really neat because, it's like, yes, that's what kids would be seeing. As if they're out there like on their field trip, outside the walls. Right. It's like paint a picture and it's like, well, yeah, there's an abandoned car in the middle of a big field of tall grass because that's the leftover relics.
Well, and the fact that kids' artwork, typically they model what they see. And this is what the kids would have seen. This is what they would have grown up knowing the world to be rather than what the adults grew up knowing the world to be. So
yeah. Yep. I just thought it was cool to like kind of see that, even though they were fighting, but it was just like, hey, look, this is what they were doing before. And next was like, I have to agree with everybody in the basement scene with Aaron. I really enjoyed this scene a lot because just because of the tense moments. And like you said, you're like, oh, like I wasn't necessarily thinking that Aaron might bite the dust, but at the same time, it was like, I was afraid.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's nothing worse than being like in a very cramped room, like with like only like waist, high water and then walkers falling down the stairs, like, and then going, like splashing into the water. So yeah, like kudos to them. Like, cause this was it was a great scene. Like it's one thing coming back off of Fear and like we're like kind of in that where, we've been talking about like, a show and just like, there's not really anything that's really like being so crazy frightening or like making me on the edge of my seat kind of thing. And then there was one episode in Fear or was it Fear? Yeah. With Connie or no, that was, not Connie. Yeah. That was this show.
Connie was main show.
Yeah, and that was like, I don't know, like 3 episodes before the break, but that was an awesome episode, but that was also kind of like a little one-off, but this was just like normal Walking Dead, here's an episode, and it was like, I was getting like at the edge of my seat going, oh my gosh, it's like, okay, the kids, they're going to get out, but I'm like, okay, Naren, you're kind of stuck. Like, this is like not good for you, but
it was some good old show kind of action suspense.
Yes. And it felt really good to see that again.
Yep.
I kind of went in with the Father Gabriel. That was one of my deals. It's just great acting, great scene, great character development. I loved the whole thing. And then I'll go into my Maggie because this is going to be where, it's not that I like am parting ways, but I don't know. This was like the whole scene. I mean, it was like, the tables are turning, it's like there's like the choices are being made and like the music's swelling. Like I almost kind of got a little bit of a Game of Thrones vibes from that one wherever the green gas blew up the whole citadel. Not the when she blew. Well, it was at night, and that candle was like, oh no, I guess that was a citadel. But anyways, that whole entire scene of that episode, like the music, like everything was just hitting, and so it just like really made everything just that much more, like suspenseful or just like poignant. And it was like it was like came to that question, and like Maggie's all like Negan. And he like turned around and was like, you know what I think. And then, of course, that brought me to the flashback of the little talk that they had back like it was episode 7, Promises Broken. And I actually have the audio for that. So I'll play that.
Then where'd Aaron get Gracie? Think I don't know about that?
You can't debate battle plans with me. Levels of cruelty.
Look, all I'm saying is that I remember when my home was invaded and my people were killed. Those men, they had friends. They had girlfriends. People that felt a loss that I couldn't heal. And I had to explain to them why their leader failed to protect them.
You killed people who had families. And you did it in front of their families.
Yeah, I did. But the world is different now, Maggie. Fewer people to fight for, fight with. Hell, there's fewer things to fight over.
You're saying you do things differently?
Yeah. Yeah, if I could do it all over again, I'd have killed every single one of you.
Why would you say that?
It's the truth. We gotta do whatever we can to protect our people, right? I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this.
Why would you say that to me?
We had a good day, you and I. And the only way this works, Maggie, is if we're honest.
And that's that. I
Yep.
mean, it's just like, I mean, I get the whole, like, what you're saying. It's like turning, kind of possibly is this a turning point for her. But I mean, you know, then she walks up to Elijah and he's saying, for Josephine, for all of us. And, you know, I don't know. You know, and then she goes over there and basically just like pulls her gun and starts like, you know, like she's killing them. She's like, I don't want them to come back to hurt my people. And like even Negan, like kind of, he was sitting in the corner and he kind of gave her like this little bit of a side eye. And I mean, I don't know. I was just like, wow. Like, you know, it's like, what would Rick Grimes do? You know, he would do what he felt that he needed to do to protect his people. Yep. And Negan's turning that around and saying, well, I was doing the same. Maybe not in the same way that you might think it should be, but, you know, he was still protecting his people.
Yep.
And I think that sat with her for sure, that it's like, you know, like here's Daryl's like, no, let them go. And, you know, she's like already fought with these people, lost people. And it's like, I don't want, you know, like the decisions to let them go, and they may then possibly come back, you know, and cause problems, that it was just like, this is just a way to stop it and like end this. And it's a new world, different situation, you know, whatever. But I don't know. It's just like, to me, it was like Negan's argument was like the truth, you know, and then in the end, she does let Negan go. And, you know, not that whether or not, you know, Negan kind of let himself go, but this, I don't know. This is that gray area. Like, would Rick do those people? You could say like we're family. You know, it's like they have people they care about. So it's kind of like your interpretation of that, I guess. But
and Rick didn't kill Negan, and Rick could have.
Right, and that's kind of like, well, that at the I don't know. That's the thing. It's like there's consequences with all your decisions that you make.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Because Rick did let some of the saviors live, and Rick didn't kill Negan.
Right. And then people died. So it's kind of, it's a very, very hard.
We're gonna see what happens from this.
Well, for sure, because that definitely put that whole like, okay, Daryl and now Maggie, which we saw at the end, and there's going to be, that's the, you know, battle, and we'll see how that turns out for sure. Because it's interesting. Because, well, I won't go ahead because I do have AMC Plus, so I've seen next week's episode. But we'll just leave it at that. No spoilers.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, that was pretty much all I had for my awesome sauce. So let's go into our weak sauce.
You're worthless and weak.
And our first one comes from Dieta from Detroit, and she says, how come that Reaper was kicking everybody's butt? He beat Negan, Maggie, and Elijah, and they were triple teaming him. Just thought that was weak. The three of them couldn't bring him down until Negan. Negan finally got him with the fire dust bell, or the fire dust and the bell. Yeah, and I kind of think you made a good point, though. And it's like you kind of like don't really think about it, but you do also see them like at the end, or like whenever basically, what was his name? Carver.
Yeah.
Once he put his beat down on him, it's like, but you're right. It's like they haven't had a whole lot of food. You could imagine how, like, I mean, you watch an episode of Survivor, and they're like, oh, here, do this, like obstacle course. Like, you burn a lot of energy really quickly and then you have none left. So you can only imagine it's like, oh, I'm like running on fumes all the time, that you're not going to bestly be at your best. And then this guy probably has been pretty well fed and training and, doing his own thing. So I think that's kind of like, take that into account at least.
Well, it's always the example that you've seen it up until the advent of trucks, that there have been lots of instances where you have a well-fed, well-trained army that did an extended foot march and then went directly into a fight and won. And you have plenty of examples of an army that is already on the edge. They've not been well-fed and they're hungry and they're tired, and they've marched all night, and you put them in a fight and they end up getting beaten.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was getting at, is that if they did it intentionally, then props to them. If they did it unintentionally, it still carried the point of, our guys are hungry. They've been, eating horse jerky and dandelions and stuff they could find. And so they're probably not at full strength or full capacity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and your body can only run on adrenaline for so long. And then it's like, then that stops working.
So our next bit of weak sauce comes from Emma from the UK, and she says, nothing in particular, except I did expect the food haul from the Reapers to be bigger than that, the amount of effort and death that went into getting it. I think Negan was right. For Maggie, it was all about killing the Reapers. And that's going to go into something that I'm going to have to talk about. But yeah, it seems like for all those buildings and all that stuff, they came away with what, one little wagon?
Cart. Yeah.
And not even a full wagon at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I after that, her comment, I kind of was like, oh, that's right. It kind of was like, there was a whole door and room that was marked food. Mm-hmm. And then that was all that was in it.
And that's all they got out of that. And I'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
Just hold off.
All right. Thanks, Emma, for your weak sauce. All right. Well, let's then go into ours. You want to take Brian's and just go into yours?
I will. I can't do a Brian voice. So Brian says, I'm not sure what I think of Maggie not killing Leah. Did she do it? Did she do that for Daryl, or did she simply miss? I don't know, but it opens up a point where we could see her again.
Mm-hmm. I thought she missed, but
she hit her in the shoulder, so I don't think she.
Well, I guess she didn't miss. She just didn't.
She just didn't get a good 10x shot on her.
Yeah,
and of course she was carrying a revolver, and she didn't have any ammo. So when she shot her 6, that was it, and her 6 was not enough.
Yep. Yeah, she got some good headshots though on 2 of the other guys.
Well, she did
at the beginning, at least.
Yep. But she shot, like I said, she shot 2 rounds. There were 4 guys, 6 shots, and she shot one of them or 2 of them twice. So
yeah, yep.
Anyway, so for my weak sauce. It's like, so how did Aaron climb that rope to get out of the basement?
Good question. I kind of left that as I'll just go with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying he seemed to scarper out of there fairly well for being a one-armed man. Would have expected maybe that he tied himself off and got pulled out, but that didn't seem to be the case. But just, again, more props for our man for getting out of there. Mm-hmm. I kind of had a moment of weak sauce for the fight on the stairs in Alexandria, because I'm thinking, okay, you're on a staircase. Why didn't they send somebody upstairs and get a table or a mattress or something to kind of keep them from coming up the stairs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The walkers are having to climb up. They're on the top of the stairs, so they have the tactical advantage. And it just seemed that they could have, again, if it was me, I would have done something to create a barricade, because if you threw a mattress on the stairs and flattened it out and pushed, they're not coming up the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you could have held them off and, held them off at your leisure and not been quite as frantic and as frightening, or a table or something to just keep them from getting at you.
Yeah, kind of remove the stairs, make it make it a barricade, because you could have done that and then, just wait for somebody else to show up downstairs and kind of turn the pack, so you could have done basically a double choke point, get them on the stairs, and then you've got them from the top and the bottom. And of course, we knew it was coming. If you didn't know it was coming, you've not been paying attention. This is my perpetual rant about leaving stuff behind. So Daryl chokes the guy out in the classroom. He shanks him, he chokes him out, and all he does is take his pistol. I understand there is some exigency there, but I would have taken his tack vest. I would have checked his pockets, because with a revolver, you've only got 6 shots. So, take the candy bar he's got in his pocket, take his pocket knife, don't leave him laying there with all that stuff on him. There were a couple other times where it's I would have, if it had been me, again, Carver would have been in his BVDs, because I don't if you've already had to fight him that much, he would have been buck naked, because I don't know what he's got in his pockets. And I would have taken all his stuff once you knock him out with the bell. And as we've already said, that cart didn't have a lot of stuff in it. And I'm going, well, where's the ammo? Where's the guns? Where's all this other stuff that, Pope and company had stashed? And where's all the other crap that Maggie had? Or all the medical supplies. They had a whole room full of it.
Yeah, I want to see a big freaking wagon piled to the top with a tarp bungee corded over the top of it with all the crap you're taking back. I mean, all we got last season was, Alexandria is starving. Alexandria is starving, and it looks like all they had was a few mason jars and a basket of apples. I mean, come on. If you're going to take the stuff, take the stuff. And just because it's fun to say, and I want to beat that horse a little more, whatcha. Okay, so it was a cool effect. It actually did something. But just like we said last time, it just seems like it was a lot of prep work for not a lot of result.
Yeah, it was so random too. It's there's no aim. It was just you might hit some walkers. It killed the one Reaper that Maggie was fighting with, and then it was
And I agree. It would have been a nice thing if you'd have had okay, let's change the scenario. Let's say that this is the herd walking towards Alexandria's wall. Then I would absolutely be down with a Hwacha doing what it did, because it's an area effect weapon. And when you have a group that's in that sort of front, it would make sense to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same reason that Claymore mines work when you have frontal assaults. They're designed to take out a large area of people. I just think that it was a cool idea that somebody in the practical effects department said, "Hey, let's do this. This would be really cool."
Yes.
And it was. But, the practical me just kind of sits back, and much in the same way that nitpicking Brian will go after things, practical me is going, yeah, that's a lot of work to make the rockets and a lot of use of the powder to make the charges, but the net effect to me,
right.
yeah, and I don't know if I've mentioned it, but it fails the Cracker Jack to prize test for me. And in case you're wondering, there's a friend of mine who used to say, I don't think the prize was worth the Cracker Jack we had to eat to get it. And so I started using the Cracker Jack to prize ratio to judge things that require effort. And it's all the wrong way, too much caramel popcorn for not enough prize at the bottom of the bag.
Yep. That's perfect. Oh, yeah. It was just, obviously it was like writing this in a storybook way, like they do, for when they do this kind of stuff for TV or films or whatever. I'm sure that on paper looked awesome. It's like, oh, this is perfect. But yeah, it's like practical wise, it's like, again, it was like like what you're saying. It's like, I do remember, it's like when they walked in to the space that they're shooting that in, there's like so much space to your right and to your left that basically you would just have to basically walk left or right, and then you're out of the way.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing stopping you from going forward. So it was kind of like, okay, well, and then also it's like, it's got limited amount of rockets. So it's like, okay, you hunker down. It's going to eventually run out of ammo and be done.
Let's even back up a bit. If they would have done that when they first opened the gate or opened the breach in the wall, then yeah, it was absolutely a great idea. But once they're inside the perimeter,
right,
it's like you said, it's not the best tool for a spread out group of people, even if they are in a confined space.
Yeah.
And we'll go back to the same thing. From an action standpoint, if you don't start really thinking about it, it's really cool. It was cool to watch. It was a nifty effect. But then, being the cold water splasher that I am, I start going, well, no.
Well, no, I had the same thought though, too. And probably because of what you talked about this from the last episode, that it was like Maggie's fighting that guy and he grabs her and then kind of like hangs her out, like hoping like one of them hits her. And then she gets, and I was kind of like, well, this is like so random. Like there's no, like, she's not a target other than just a random rockets are going to happen to be the one that actually hits her. But then she turns around and puts him out there and he's the one that gets hit with it.
Yep. It's the same old action movie trope of leaning them out the car window.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Well, she got the one up on that because she did the same thing, and he got the timing. She just knew the timing.
and of course he did the stare at it in disbelief for a couple of seconds.
Right. And then boom. I guess that's a shock of like, it's going to explode, but.
Well, yeah, but still, he just kind of stood there for a little too long, staring at the thing sticking in him. I'm like, pull it out, throw it, and run, duck.
Well, no, right. And you would think that would have been like that. That would be like, you would think is the natural instinct to be like, oh, crap, like pull that out.
It's the same. It's again the same thing in the movies where you see them throw the grenade and you see it go doonky 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 and roll across the floor and stop at somebody's feet, and they all look down at it and go, gasp. I'm like, it's a grenade. Duck, kick it,
right? Do something. Oh well. It made for a good explosion.
Well, it did. It did.
It was for the fun of it. Oh, all right. Well, was that all?
That is it.
All right. Well, then let's go into our what sauce.
What?
All right. Well, our first one comes from Renee from Atlanta, and her what sauce is: how in the heck did the Reapers not know anything about the secret hiding place or places, but Maggie and Daryl knew immediately? I rolled. And I'm thinking that's the secret passage in the infirmary that Daryl wasn't there, but Daryl hid behind the chalkboard, but there was like kind of like a doorway or something behind there. So I didn't think that was
No, there was, oddly enough, there was a very strategically placed piece of plywood on the lower part of that chalkboard so that he could hide behind it. Because the first thing I thought of when I saw the chalkboard is I'm going, that's kind of like hiding behind a lamp. I kept thinking, don't they see his legs?
His legs, right.
And then when they did the thing, it's like, oh, there was like a modesty piece there to keep you from seeing through it's like, oh, a convenient screen to your vision.
Yes, convenient for sure. Oh, and then she said next, how in the heck did Lydia get the rope and tie it that quick to rescue Aaron? I roll. Yes, agree.
Well, yes, I think I've already mentioned the rope, and that's just like the other part that I didn't go into. So we're on the same page there, Renee.
Thanks, Renee. All right, next.
Emma from the UK says, how did Maggie know about the secret compartment in the infirmary? Hadn't she been there like 5 minutes? And man, did Daryl get behind that blackboard fast in the classroom.
So two of the same scene.
See, I think that hidey hole in the infirmary was something that she planted.
No, that's what I thought. It's like, this is her place, remember? Like, she lived here with her people. So it's
and that's what kind of explained some of the secret, them knowing the secret hiding places.
Yeah,
because this was like Maggie's place,
right? And then I don't know. Yeah, like when that came about, was the first time they ran into the Reapers and they were like, oh, making preparations, or they just, like, you're in a survival thing and this is your home base. I mean, I kind of would think the same, to be like, okay, like have kind of like places to hide because they had kids. So maybe it was part of one of their drills. But yeah, I wasn't like, this is Maggie's other, home that she built. So I would not be surprised that they had plenty of like hiding places or secret passageways.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Emma, for your what sauce. So that was all the what sauce we had from our listeners. So let's go into our what sauce.
Brian's what sauce is see my weak sauce.
Well, yep. That's sometimes I get in that part where I'm like, wait, is this a what or a week? And I usually just write it in a week because that's the first thing that I get to in the doc.
Well, I kind of parsed mine a little bit this time.
Okay, go for it.
So for what I did for what sauce was I had to mention, despite being weak and hungry, the good guys have iron constitutions and recover very quickly, because you'll notice that they fought Carver and looked like they had been, rode hard and put up wet, and yet they were still back at it and perky and, all back ready to go just one scene later.
Yep. True. Good point taken.
Yep.
They have those protein bars. Everybody has those protein bars.
Yes. The amazing Morgan Jones protein bars.
Yes.
Available at Bill's store.
Yep.
Your one-stop shop for everything in the apocalypse. My next what sauce is, to paraphrase Monty Python, just merely a flesh wound. I think you're gonna talk about that. Is the good guys got stabbed and beat up and, trashed pretty hard. But once again, because they're the good guys and they have iron constitutions, tis but a scratch.
Yep.
They can go on no matter how many times they've been stabbed and shot. Since you mentioned it, talking about, and since the feedback mentioned it about the secret compartments, obviously the Reapers have a real lack of curiosity once they took over Maggie's base there, because I don't know if it would have been me, I would have been, turning over every chest of drawers and poking at the bottom of every closet, and because the first thing I'm going to think is they've got stuff stashed in here and I want to find everything.
Right.
Blame it on too many years of playing Fallout, but that's just the way I roll. And it just seemed the Reapers have a serious, lack of curiosity in exploring their surroundings.
Well, and but that's the thing that kind of you're you would think that after all this time, you're in survival mode. What do you do when you're in survival mode? You're always looking for supplies or food or anything. So yeah, you're right. It's like if I took over a place, I'd be like, hey, this might be the last place that I had to flee from. We would have hid stuff and done this thing, there's stuff,
and there you go.
The complex is huge too. It's there's a lot of places to go search.
Right. And since we know that resources are scarce and that everybody knows that there's going to be somebody coming to steal your stuff, what's the first thing you do? You hide it in creative ways.
Yep.
So I think the last point I want to make for Hot Sauce is I don't think that the people we saw get killed in the first half of the episode and the people we saw in the episode previous to that, I don't think the math equals out to me to five Reapers at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a math discrepancy there that it just seemed like there were a whole lot more people when Pope locked Daryl in the burning building than the last 4 straggly people that went running away from Maggie.
That's a good point. That's kind of I just have to go back and start counting because.
So where did they go?
Well, no, they did. I mean, it's we saw a couple people get killed this episode, not the main 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you go back, it's well, actually, yeah, there's probably, we might have to do that now.
They had a mob of people and it got down to the end where it's yeah, that's going to be one of those go back and count heads.
I know. I was putting it in there because I was I'm curious now.
And like I said, and since you guys can't see me doing it, it's I'm doing the air quotes, because were they on patrol? Did they see that once Pope once Pope got killed, did they all just say, I've really rethought my current career path and I think I'm going to head out on my own now? Yeah. Okay, so we know at least one of them went back to the church for Alden.
Yes.
But it just makes me think, given, like I said, the scarcity of bad guys at the end, that, the math just ain't there for me. I don't see how, survivors body count equal the number of people we saw before. So,
yeah. No, I agree. It just kind of convenient. Yeah, there seems like there's either off-screen kills that they just don't let us know about. But you're making a good point. I kind of want to go back now and check it out and see if wait, no, it's how many people ran away? They lost 5 people since this. We just don't know where they are.
Well, yeah, and sure, I'm sure there's somebody that's going to be going, but wait, LT, perhaps they were eaten by the walkers when the walkers breached the wall. Well, maybe so. I think again, I just don't think the math adds up. But
well, and that's like I mean, I guess it can happen because Leah is not, and the Reapers are not a part of the comics, that she could still return and cause an issue. But, you know, and then that'd be like, oh, that's where some of the missing Reapers are. But I have a feeling, though, that this is kind of the end of this. Like, or, you know, like, maybe Leah will come up at some point and get like forgiven and like comes back, or, you know, like, because she has no one else or something like that. But I don't know.
Maybe when she wanders off into the woods and finds herself a cabin to settle down, she can find those straggling whisperers and those straggling wolves and those,
and like make a new army,
and those long forgotten saviors, and perhaps some people from the governor's group that wandered off into the woods and we never saw again.
She just collects all the leftovers.
Basically, take every group that we've run into that have, you know, mysteriously disappeared and not come back in any of the next season's plot lines.
Oh, they're saving that for the anthology. They'll be like, what did Leah do? Oh, goodness.
And it's like, if you're listening, Scott Gimple, I just want credit. That's all.
Yep. Give it to LT, Gimple.
Somebody will go, that's a great idea.
Oh, goodness. I didn't really have much other than just like you kind of mentioned. It was Daryl getting stabbed, and then of course he seems fine afterwards. Like, he got stabbed in the shoulder with a pretty big knife, it seemed. So
yes, he did.
And, you know, I was just kind of like, no, Gimple, you kind of like leave Daryl alone, because there's no Rick, and Daryl's kind of a stand-in for that, at least in comic book land. I mean, maybe not exactly, but it's like he's kind of in that spot, if you would kind of put him in that, since Rick's not there anymore.
Yes, he is.
So he has plot armor.
Yeah, and he is definitely one of the last first-generation people.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just him and Carol. And
yep.
All right. Well, yeah, that was all I really had. So unless there's nothing else, let's move on to our sad and aw sauce. Aww. And the first comes from Dieta from Detroit, and she says, Alden is gone. Cry face. Tear face. Yeah. That was a given. I feel like that we knew that was going to happen.
So Renee from Atlanta says, Po Alden. And she's got about 5 or 6 crying emojis there. It said, of course, I knew in all probability that he was going to be dead when they returned, but it was still sad to see him crawling like that. More crying emojis. People were saying Maggie was crying because she had feelings for him, but I personally don't think that. Of course, she cared about him because he had become a part of the family, but my belief is she was crying like that because she's tired. They all seem to break at some point, in which I would think everyone would during a zombie apocalypse. I mean, at times, I know it has to become overbearing. All of that fighting and killing when the zombies should be the enemy, but it's always other people that are the real enemy. I sympathize with Maggie the same way I did with Alicia on Fear. It's just too freaking much. More crying emojis. And she says, that low-down, dirty Carver kicking Elijah in his bad leg, and he would have did it again if Father Gabriel would have not shot him in the leg. She has some cussing emojis. And then Elijah telling Carver his sister's name was Josephine. TWD has me all in my feelings. And she's got shrugs and shrugs.
Yep. I have to agree with that. It's like that everybody's hitting all the points. It's basically the same. It's like, can't disagree. All right. Well, next comes from Emma from the UK, and she said Daryl and Connie reunited as was a sweet moment. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, listeners. All right. Well, let's go into our sad and awe sauce. And I'll just go with Brian's. And he's like, Alden, I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. Yep. We knew it.
Shocked. And, my sad sauce is, well, at least she went back for Alden.
Yeah. That's true. She could have just assumed, because I mean, he was in pretty bad shape, and it could have been oh,
he was.
He's just gone, and I'll move on. But I mean, don't leave your people behind.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't always go back for them.
That's true. Yeah, I have to agree with everybody. Is Elijah, Alden, Connie. I mean, I really thought this was such a great episode because there was so many feels in this one on all sides, and so that's what makes a great episode. It was such a great feeling, a great feeling because I'm, to watch a show and then just get so much out of it was something that was very refreshing after Fear.
Yeah. And I want to throw this in really quick. Yes, I think that you've got to get props to the actor that plays Elijah because he definitely carried that emotion and the fact he was hurt. But I just have to say it. Is this kind of a corduroy boy situation where, he had a growth spurt? Because I don't remember Elijah looking that tall.
Or, yeah, well,
he kind of beefed up there a little bit. And I will say this, I'm so glad that they got rid of the mask because I just seeing the depth of expression in his face during some of his sad scenes. Again, super props to the actor. I really think he sold it.
Mm-hmm. No, totally agree. But you're right. It's yeah, that was kind of his little thing was having the mask and with those knives and stuff like that. But they were showing him being vulnerable and he, showing the, loss of his sister, and he made that point. And it was that wasn't. I would have to say that's kind of a ad, just an ad that no one else really kind of said, but it was just when Carver, when he was kind of confronting Carver when all of them were in the hallway, and he was just Stephanie's my sister, and he was kind of huh, who, what, whatever, and it was kind of well, yeah, he wouldn't have known, but at the same time, it's he didn't care. He's probably thinking oh, okay, cool. I'm glad I did something like that. And that was kind of a really good, it's yeah, Carver deserved what he got.
Well, there's no arguing that at all.
Yeah. Just again, I don't know. I think one of my things, and before we get into feedback, I was just this was such a great episode to come back to. So I'll just leave it at that. I can't tell you how much I just enjoyed watching it. It was
well, and we both know, and I'm sure that everybody's heard us say it. There's sometimes when you go, this is a good episode, and it feels better because we've had an absence. But I would say this is a great episode, and it definitely, I think it'll hold up even after we go do a rewatch.
Yeah.
Because I think there have been some times where there have been a break and they come back and we all go, wow, this is a great episode. And then later we kind of go, well, maybe it wasn't that great.
No, no, totally true. Totally true.
I think this one is going to be, this will be good even after we come back to it after watching some.
I totally would agree. I did, we watched it a couple of times and I have to say it was it still stood up and I still enjoyed it and I actually was enjoying it more. So,
yeah. And since he's not here to defend himself, I remember a couple times when Brian was like, well, I thought it was great the first time I watched it, but then I watched it again. So I had to lower my score.
Yeah.
So no, this is, I think I watched it 2.5 times and I think I actually went up a little bit. So I'm gonna hold fast with this is a great episode, and it was even better the fact that it was our first episode back from a break.
Yep. Agree for sure. All right. Well, that was the sad and aw sauce section. So let's go into feedback.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
And we got some voicemail from Renee. Yay. She actually gave written, but then she called in earlier today to kind of make an addition to her or edit her feedback that she wrote down. So we'll just go ahead and just start with her voicemail, and then we'll just go right into her feedback.
Hi guys, this is Renee from Fairburn, Georgia. I am so happy to be back calling in. I have really missed you guys. Kyle, I want to say to you again, I know on our Facebook page I already offered you my condolences, but I want to do it again and let you know that you and your family have been in my prayers, and I know how hard it is to lose a loved one, but God is in control. And I didn't want to go back in and edit my feedback, so I thought I would call in because I totally forgot to mention Connie and Daryl and their little reunion, and it was really quick, but I thought it was cute, Daryl dropping the apples, but to me their reunion was more like a friendship reunion. I didn't feel any type of I don't know, they don't have any chemistry. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I didn't see it, but maybe down the line they're going to expand on it. But I just wanted to call in instead of editing. I mean, of course I wanted to call in. I just feel more connected when I call in. And I just wanted to say hi. I'm so happy to be home. And I will talk to you guys on next week.
Thank you, Renee. And thank you for the condolences. It was really good to kind of get back into swing of things, and you guys helped. And so definitely appreciate it from all of you listeners that posted on Facebook. But definitely, good. We like getting our feedback from you from, every which way you can. So all of you, actually, if you leave voicemails or anything like that, we definitely love to hear from you guys. You can be a showcase winner.
we like voicemail.
Yes. It's a great way to another different way to connect with the podcast, and, everybody can hear your voice.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was part of her, I guess, addition to the feedback that she wrote on Facebook. So I will go straight into her. And she said, overall, great episode. I just need them to keep it up. Of course, like everyone else, I'm intrigued by Daryl joining the Commonwealth soldiers, and Maggie saying it doesn't have to end or be like this, but knowing our peeps, it's all a ruse. Personally, I'm not stoked about the Commonwealth folks, and maybe that's because I'm not a comic book reader. I just need The Walking Dead to go out with a bang, and please don't be like Game of Thrones. I roll. I need my peeps to stay on the good side. I'm so ecstatic to be back with you guys. I've missed you guys so much. Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji. Thank you, Renee. We're glad to be back for sure. That's a good question. I don't think that Daryl and Maggie are on opposite sides, but then again, we don't know because it's just what was it, 6 weeks or 6 months later?
Yep.
And Maggie's at the hilltop, with people, and he's wearing the stormtroopers outfit. So, it's kind of like, what has he been fed and what's he on, or, what's going on? So, I don't know comic book wise because I haven't actually gotten this far because I kind of stopped at the whispers and I just haven't picked it up yet. So I don't know if there's any kind of thing that, is along the same storyline. And I'm kind of enjoying that because I'm I don't want to know because in the past it's when you already know, you're kind of expecting oh, no, this should happen. And it kind of ruins the fun. So, so I really don't know. I think that our people kind of have a plan, but then again, we have a time jump. I'm assuming that next episode will be the time jump, that it's they accepted, Mr. What's his face? What's his name again?
Lance Hornsby.
Yeah, Mr. Lance Hornsby, his proposal. So, what that actually turns out to with everybody, we'll just have to see, I guess.
Yep. As opposed to Bruce Hornsby. So, sorry, every time it's like, every time they say that, I keep going, that's just the way it is. Some things will never change. No, that's Bruce, not Lance. Anyway, where the heck were we? Oh, Deanna from Detroit said, overall good comeback episode. Daryl was still trying to save Leah even after she turned on him and sent Reapers after him. Daryl almost got all of them killed. If it wasn't for Gabriel saving them, they would have died. Gabriel came through in the nick of time. Maggie keeping her promise and killing the Reapers was everything. She says, Eugene showing up with the stormtroopers and then a time jump. It's looking like it's going to be a very interesting season with our group split and choosing sides. Or are they? And she's got some chin scratching emojis.
Yep, we'll have to see. All right, next is Emma from the UK, and she said, all in all, a great episode. Looking forward to hearing others' thoughts. P.S. If you like zombies, is anyone else watching All of Us on All of Us Are Dead on Netflix? It's brilliant. And I have not. I've seen it. It's on the list because I now have Netflix because of my T-Mobile deal. So it's on my queue. I'm currently stuck in Yellowstone, guys, because you guys keep mentioning it and saying how great it is, and I have to agree. It's good. So that's my current binge right now. All right. Thank you. Or go on.
No, I was just going to say I've seen it, but I was too busy watching Cowboy Bebop on Netflix.
Oh, well, that's one of the good things about like this, like streaming or like DVR. Even it's like I was looking for Yellowstone, thinking it was on Paramount Plus because it says it's on Paramount Network, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then I happened to go to, or just look up on my YouTube TV, and I think from one of the comments, either from Dieta, I think actually was saying how great this season ending or something like that was compared to Fear or whatever. And she's like, this is how it should be, and that was such great. And I think I was like, oh yeah. So I went and said it, and sure enough, I just thought about looking at it. I'm like, oh wow, look, it's like it's been recording them all like since the beginning. And so now it's like, cool, I have a show. Like I'm just like sit there and just episode after episode. So we hit about 2 a night if we can.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thank you everyone for your feedback. And let's go into our own. I didn't really have much, because we talked about everything's been kind of said that I kind of agree with, but later after I did my second rewatch, it was just, I kind of had this thought. It was like the end with the arrival of the Commonwealth. And I just thought it was like, or just seeing it is like the stark contrast between our people that, that are all tattered, beat up, they're starving, and they're in front of the burned out church in, Alexandria. And then it's like Lance Hornsby comes stepping in, and he's like all in his nice, clean, polished, suit. And he like gives a speech about joining up with them. And I don't know, like my first thought, because of just the difference, it's like, it gave me that real like Hunger Games vibe of like, Effie, she's like, at the reaping of District 12, and she's from the Capitol, and she's all in this like, nice, crazy outfit, and everybody else is just like standing there just all sad and like whatever. So I'm like, immediately that was my first thought, was just like, or not thought of like, I'm comparing, it's just like, that was the feeling I got. It was like, oh yeah. I'm like, I do not trust this. It's like, and then you're like, look how nice you look. And they're like looking at you like, dude, like,
well, and it was the thing with me, it was, you see the guys coming down the road and you're thinking, oh no, this is bad. And then Eugene shows up, and, Eugene was like, no, we're going to be okay now. But like you said, and now for the proposal, Mr. Lance Hornsby. And he's got that, I don't know if it's a used car salesman suit or the cheap, flashy lawyer suit. But I just really would love to give that actor credit, because he definitely has the smarmy politician car salesman vibe going.
Totally.
I just totally see the HOA president, small town city councilman, used car salesman, small town ambulance chasing lawyer vibe. I mean, and you're right. He kind of, and I agree with your Effie Trinket there, but he doesn't quite have the posh side that she has.
No, for sure. It's just like, it was just the nice, like, but you're right. Like, talk about the used car salesman. Like, he's wearing that polyester suit that's all like nice and shiny, and then his hair's all slicked back, and it's like, his eyebrows are probably waxed. It's just kind of like,
and it's almost like he's got the white patent loafers.
Yeah.
And it's like, this 87 Buick is such a deal. It's such a deal. It's just all for you, man. Check out that interior. You don't see leather seats like that on cars they make now. And this is a classic. Rides like a dream. And you fit so well right there. I mean, come on.
Yeah. That's too funny. Yeah, no, he's the carnival like barker. He's like, come on up and step right up and take your chance with the Commonwealth. I think even like we saw the commercial, like of him doing that where he's like, oh yeah, stand up for, like at the beginning. I don't know, like the. And he's the spokesperson. And he's just like, oh yeah, it's like, do your part to fight with the Commonwealth. Blah blah blah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what he was before the fall, and so they found that's what his role is at the Commonwealth. Everybody has a job to do.
Yep, everybody has a job to do.
Yep. No, and I just the last I just kind of was, and everybody already said it was just like the whole time jump. 6 months later, Maggie at the hilltop, Daryl with the stormtroopers. I think really when I wrote this down though, it was just like the transition, and we talked about that earlier. It was just basically the transition from Maggie and Carnival Barker giving his speech to like her like looking down. Like that transition was awesome. It was so smooth. It just was a great way to end the show, and also just like nice effect.
Yep.
So. Cool. Do you have anything else to add?
I do not, sir.
All right. Well, then that takes us into our news, ratings, and info.
There's a couple weird stories on the news.
And I have to say, I'm kind of a little glad that we aren't covering the kids show.
Yay!
Yay! All right. Well, the ratings this week. The Walking Dead season 11, episode 9 got a 0.53 in the 1849 with a 1.756 million viewers. The demographics breakdown, I guess, for the 25 to 54 was a 0.69 and then a 0.85 in the 50 plus. And that is actually about, I guess it was a little bit lower than season 11, episode 8, which still was a 0.53 in the 1849, but with 1.914 million viewers. So it's just down like 200 or 150 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Got a 0.76 in the 25-54 and a 0.99 in the 50 plus. So it looks like that we are up in the 25 to 54 demographic. Yep.
So that's going to be interesting because I think we'll see how they hold out.
No, and well, I guess you kind of start thinking about their demographics, and a little younger might be dropping off, but I've been watching it for like the last 10, 11 years.
Yep.
And this is the end of it that we might start tuning in more. Talking Dead was on this week, but I did not see it, unfortunately. I just didn't have time, but
I did.
Did you? Well, in our news section coming up, maybe if you have anything to add, that would be great. Okay. But The Talking Dead season 11 for this week's season 11 episode 9 got a 0.21 in the 1849 with 760,000 viewers. So definitely up a lot since season 11 episode 8, the mid-season break. 0.08 in 1849 with 303,000 viewers.
Yeah, they really took it in the shorts last season. And this is good to see that that's more than doubled their viewers.
Yeah.
Now, sadly, they did not. It was not on the couch. It was another Talking Dead from Home show.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, but it was on earlier because I think the thing that hurt them before was that they had the show in between. They were running it later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the closer they run it to the episode, the better the ratings are.
I would totally agree that's probably a big part of it, and actually what they should have done to begin with.
Exactly.
Because it's like I mean, I don't really watch. Well, that's the thing. I'm like, I'll watch the show, but if Talking Dead wasn't on right afterwards, then yeah, I would just wait. My DVR would record it, and I just watch it whenever I could get to it, and then it just depends on if I'm not busy enough. But it's recorded for later. But it just seems like, why wouldn't you just block that off? Because that would make more sense. But I don't know. I'm not in charge of it. All right. Well, I'll just do the news part because, again, I'm going to actually put this out there to our listeners. If you hear of any news, I know that with social media and Twitter and all that stuff, like this stuff breaks before, we even do the recording. So a lot of this stuff just kind of happens and everybody knows about it. But if there is anything that you guys hear, I would definitely encourage you to share it on Facebook. And not only just to kind of like, if it's breaking or whatever, some people probably are on Facebook at the time and might, get the notification. So I definitely would encourage you to just, help add to the feed and just post stuff that breaks if you get it first. And that would also help us be able to kind of like, add more to the news section. Cause I was like going through and trying to like look up stuff. I had some stuff that was like, from, it's been a long break. So I'm like, stuff would like happen. I'm like, oh, I should like save that or like post it on Facebook, post it to the group. But then, work or something would get involved and be like, okay, now it's the next week. It's like, that's kind of old news. But this is actually interesting though. So it was announced that Terry Crews, Anthony Edwards, Parker Posey, Populu, and Jillian Bell are cast for Tales of the Walking Dead. There was like no information on what roles. I know like Terry Crews like tweet like his reaction of like joining the Walking Dead universe. But like, this anthology series is coming, it's being shot now. So it's, I don't know. I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of Terry Crews, but I'm like, I'm just curious. Like, I still, he's still an actor and he's done some okay, he's okay what he does. But it's like, I want to like, since this is going to be like just stories in the Walking Dead universe, kind of what we got way back in the day, where they were doing the webisodes, that I'm very excited for this. And then also Parker Posey, who I am like, she's one of my favorite actresses. And just to kind of like, okay, what is she going to do? Like, what are these stories? Are old, main characters or, old characters that maybe passed, like, are they going to be in it? So I don't know. This is kind of a really good, like, little announcement. So it makes me excited for Tales of the Walking Dead for sure.
You're not excited about Anthony Edwards?
Well, no, I'm saying like, yeah, Anthony Edwards. I think I just lean on Parker Posey because I'm like, okay,
well,
if there's the line of like, here's the actors and actresses, it's like just seeing her name, I'm like, okay, she kind of rises above the rest. I'm sorry.
I won't argue the point.
All right. Well, that was all I had for the news for this week. A little light, sorry. I don't know if you had anything else to add from since you watched The Talking Dead.
It was just interesting the fact that Hardwick didn't quite get, because they had I can't think of her name now, but they had the actress that played Leah. They had Lauren Cohen and Angela Kang, And, Hardwick tried to get Kang to spill the beans, and she didn't spill many beans, but, I definitely think I'd like to play poker with her because she's not quite got the poker face that Gimple does. So I think it's going to be an interesting season to see what happens with Maggie and with everybody in the Commonwealth.
Big question though. Do you think Rick Grimes is going to show up? Because I know that's.
Well, if you want to add something to the news, I did see something come across my Twitter feed where there was an Andrew Lincoln sighting in Georgia.
Yes, I think I did see that the other day, wasn't it? It was like a fan and Daryl. I think it was just a random fan, but somebody saw Andrew Lincoln in Georgia. So I think they're just putting two and two together. Yep. Well, I think they kind of have to do something like that. We have to get Rick Grimes back.
Well, they've got to get him back in my opinion, they have to get him back for at least the last third. Because I think there would be a hue and cry, and I think the fans would revolt if they didn't give us a little Rick. So
Yep. I agree. Can't do this end of the show with the man that started it all.
That's right.
All right. Well, I guess that just takes us to wrap it up. So do you want to tell people how to interact with us?
I will. We want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Walking Dead TTM. As we've hinted and alluded at earlier, to submit your theories and feedback. Most people post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadTTM. You can send us an email. That's walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. You can also use our feedback form, which is on our webpage. That's talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call area code 216-232-6146. Remember that the voicemails are only about 2 minutes long. Remember that all of our new episodes are also on YouTube. Just search for Talk Through Media and remember to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when we have new videos. These videos go out first before the podcast does.
Yep. And to support us, like and review the Talk Through Media Facebook page at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. And as we mentioned before, the best way you can support us is in our Patreon. And you can find that at patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough. We would like to thank our Patreon supporters, Clint McComb, Renee Murray, Dieta Patterson, that guy over there, Lawrence Todd, and this guy, Kyle McAdams. I kind of find it weird. It's like I support my own podcast and give myself a shout out.
Well, it's like that old Razor. It's like that old Razor commercial. I like the podcast so much, I joined the Patreon.
Yep. And remember, Dieta, Renee, and Clint will be getting an early version of the episode this week, tomorrow. So, and it's only you can just donate like $1 or as much as you want. And I hopefully down the line, there definitely would do a little bit more, maybe little call-in shows or stuff like that. But we'll let you know, everybody. It's like that's something that we can do down the line.
We have lots of plans. Granted, we've been twisting Brian's arm, but he's been occupied elsewhere. We have some ideas, and hopefully, if you watch this space for more information, we'll give you a chance to maybe we'll do our call-in show for patrons. And, we got some ideas.
Yes, we do. Always working on it, and we're just trying to get everything organized. Well, another way to support us is to subscribe to us in our Apple Podcasts or your podcast client of choice. And while you're there, give us a rating and review. You can also leave us a review at podchaser.com, and there you can actually rate individual episodes, or you can actually just rate the whole podcast. And always remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, or tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners. All right, this is kind of where Brian takes over about like where else can you be listened to. And Brian, as you know, is like, you know, he's busy with a move, but he's also still covering Star Trek Discovery. So you can hear Brian and Ruthie there at the Star Trek Discovery Podcast. You can find that at StarTrekDiscoveryPodcast.com and Facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM Podcast. And there's like a lot going on in that world because there's a lot of crossovers. So I feel for Brian on top of him having to like be moving during this.
And there's going to be a lot of Star Trek this year.
Yes, like a ton.
We think we're going to be busy because after this, I don't know. Did they say when the third part of the season is going to air? I think it's still in the late summer.
Yeah, it's in the late summer. I don't think there's been an actual date because like Fear comes back,
right?
And then does
because we're always going to get main show and it's going to dovetail into Fear, and then
right.
There should be a break. But for the Star Trek folks, they're pretty much going to be going continuously back to back to back for a while.
I was like, yeah, like that, like what was it? Like Discovery is going on right now, but like at the time it was like there was still like a Prodigy like on one episode, but now Picard is going to start 2 episodes in or something like that, and then all new worlds or different worlds or whatever. It's like that's like crossing
strange new worlds.
But then that kind of crosses over, so it's like everything's not getting this clean start and stop. It's like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff. So I feel for them for sure. So
and then eventually we'll be back with Lower Decks.
Yes, I'm actually excited. Like Lower Decks. Well, in all, to support them, they also have a Patreon for those podcasts. You can find those at patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. All right. Next week, The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 10 is titled New Haunts. It's written by Magali Lozano and directed by Jon Amiel. Description from AMC Plus is like description from AMCplus.com says, our heroes experience Halloween in the Commonwealth. Daryl and Rosita undergo military training. So until next time, I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
And this is The Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everyone.
Good night.